and welcome back to Antidepressing. This is the show where we talk about everything from liturgy
to Lexapro.
Woo! I'm Jasmine Chaubert.
And I'm Chanel Shaw. And this is our wonderful guest,
Stephen Joubert. I'm Jasmine's husband.
Love to see it. Love to have happy, positive relationships. We have wanted to have Stephen as a guest for a long time. One thing about Stephen is he appreciates some good conversation pieces. And Stephen has some real thoughts on The Bachelor, or on The Bachelorette, but the Bachelor franchise. And so we are so excited to have him on to just share some of his thoughts, really break down what we've seen, which we just watched the finale. So we got a lot of thoughts.
Only like a month later.
A lot of feelings. Only a month later. But we're here for you guys. We're here for the people. If anything, we're recording all of this just for y'all. So happy to be here. So.
But we're excited. We're going to talk about The Bachelor a little bit. We're going to talk about relationships, dating, marriage, a little healthy dating, not cringe dating, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be great. And we're happy to have Stephen here. Tell us a little bit about you.
I like to hang out with my wife and hang out with my kids. I also like to hang out with Chanel. So doing this seems like an obvious thing to do. And, I'm always down to talk about dramatic things,
The thing about Stephen is that for me, whenever I'm like, dang, I'm thinking about this thing and I just like haven't fully fleshed out my thought, or I would love some just feedback on like what I'm actually thinking. This guy, he'll listen to me. And we've been friends for a long time, and he'll listen to me talk and then be like, I think this is what you mean. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. When Stephen and I first started dating, I actually, for part of this, I don't even know if we were officially dating, but my college roommates, and then it trickled down to all of my girlfriends in college, when they needed boy advice, it would be like, could we call Stephen? And I lived in Wisconsin. Stephen lived in Louisiana, and we would call him. And they would tell him their woes with boys. And he would always start with, well, first of all, boys are idiots. And then he would launch into his advice. Everybody, it was like you could have sold that service. We could be millionaires right now.
Could have.
It was create the line outside my door to get advice from Stephen.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think I just like to talk. And I'm always happy to be a male perspective that is not biased towards male. What would you call it? Well, I was going to say I was like male biases, like, but I already used the word bias. But I don't know. Like, I'm not here to like try to make excuses for dudes doing dumb stuff.
Yeah. Stephen will tell it to you just like it is. I've come to him and said, this guy said this, and then he did this, and then this, and he's like, that sucks. That guy kind of sucks.
That guy's the worst.
Maybe, your friend, stop talking to that guy. He just wants to make out. Nope, bad choice.
It's a no.
Yep, it's a no. So you know what? So happy
that is so you. He got what he wanted.
Yep. So honestly, tell your friend he's not texting her back. No. So it's like, and I have communicated with many of friends where they're like, I'm like, no, Stephen told me this, and they're like, oh, Stephen said that, and they're like, dang.
Because then they have to listen.
Yeah,
they know.
Like, dang, man. Because it's been since like I was in college. So I am, I'm so excited to hear your feedback on this because I was taking notes as we were watching the finale. And you and Jasmine said some gems. So we're going to
I'm excited to hear
So we're going to talk about that. But
that's how we should do the story. You should just say the quote we said and we can expand.
I know, for real.
Before we dive in, let me give you a little antidepressant Catholic news.
Vibes.
So our non-sad news of the week is the hand of St. Jude is going to be traveling around the United States, leaving Italy for the first time. And we're just here for relics. We're here for all things a little spooky. A little spooks, if we're honest. We're here for it. And going to be in Texas, in Illinois, in other states. If you want to see, I don't know if they're going to let you touch. If you want to get up close and personal.
It's like in a little glass box or something.
Maybe you can high five it.
I think so.
I feel like, is this disrespectful? But I honestly think St. Jude would be here for these jokes.
I think so.
So if you want to get up close and personal with St. Jude, highly recommend. Relics are such a cool thing, cool tradition that we have in our faith.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's hilarious that, like, in no other context other than a Catholic context is it good news to be seeing someone's body part separated from the rest of their body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're like, in this anti-depressing news, here's some good news. There's someone's body part that is not with the rest of their body, and you can just go see it.
There it is.
But it's like Catholic context. Like, you know, Catholic stuff's weird. It's kind of fun.
It is.
so true.
It is
But
weird
it's
and
just,
fun.
yeah.
Because if I right now were like, Chanel's arm is going to be traveling around this state.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and it would literally, that would be the coolest thing. I mean, if it was me and my relic was traveling, it would be my teeth, and people could just be like, I pray to have a smile like hers, expensive. I pray for Invisalign. So it's like, and that would be my relic to like
Your relic would
travel
be your
across.
teeth?
Yeah, it would be my teeth.
You
So-
spent a pretty penny on those. They deserve to travel.
Girl, please. I just went to the
Just had
dentist a
dentist
couple
appointment.
days ago.
How did it go? We didn't talk about it.
It was good. So I'm not stressed anymore. I'm living a life of peace. But sometimes my body doesn't remember that when I'm unconscious and I'm sleeping. And so I grind my teeth just a little bit. As my dentist said, I grind them to stump. They are weak and small. And so I have to wear a night guard. So cute. And did you guys know that night guards are $600?
I did not.
So I got fitted for a night guard a month ago, went to go get it a couple days ago. And it's a big thing that goes on the front of your teeth. And it is $600. So
Chanel, the good news about that
Teeth are expensive.
$600 thing is
Okay.
that would be the coolest second class relic.
my night guard.
That is amazing.
Okay.
There it is.
Steven, what would your
Sold.
relic be?
Splice it.
I would have a 1-2 combo, so a first class and a second class. Which Chanel, I don't remember. What are the first, second, third class? I never
So
remember.
the first is you.
Okay.
Second is like your shirt. Third is like this blanket that's touching your shirt. For all that are not watching. So like,
The blanket that's touching the, okay, got
yeah.
it.
So like Steven's shirt is touching his actual
So that's a
body,
second
and
class.
that's a second class. Third class is like the blanket that's touching the shirt that's touching Steven, who is the first class relic.
So third class relics easy to come by.
Yeah.
You can make third class relics now.
Yeah, that's why they have like
can,
so
like-
many of those little things
Yeah, it
that
makes
they
you
give
want-
people.
It's like a copy of a copy.
Pretty much.
Like, makes you wonder how much value those really have. You know what I mean?
Too bad we
Like,
can't
how much-
sell
I
those
don't know.
anymore.
Well, not in terms of financial value. I mean, like.
Oh, I was thinking-
like.
I was like, too bad I can't sell those. Forgive some sins. That was a dark time in the church. Yeah.
Gosh,
Whoops.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. I think I would want a 1-2 combo, a first class and a second class put together. It's a one-stop shop. You see my hands, and my hands are holding a styrofoam container that is a Cane's chicken box, like
Yeah.
a box combo, a number 4,
Yep.
right? There's
Yep.
there's no more food in it because that'd be gross.
Yep.
The food's been cleaned out, but it's still the styrofoam container. Those aren't really biodegradable. Those will last a long time.
Yeah. Like
And it's just my
McDonald's.
hands.
Yep.
Maybe also my arms too. Like it's just this.
It's
posture.
you in the position.
It's just propped
Yeah.
up, and it's just the box.
And
the
people take a
container.
picture with it and they're like,
Oh man, that'd be
Yeah.
so cool.
got it.
I have this running joke that I always tell people that I'm the future patron saint of fried chicken, and I'm starting to believe it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you honestly have said, I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, it's going to be true.
And we're like, I also like to pretend, like Saint Joseph is the Saint Joseph terror of demons.
Mm-hmm.
I also like to say the terror of fried chicken.
There it is.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, like fried chicken's afraid of me because I'm gonna eat it all.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know.
There it is. Or you come to restaurants and you're like, it's not crispy enough. Like throw it back in the fryer. That would be yours.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Put some
I was
more
like-
seasoning on that.
Yeah.
It's too tan.
Yeah, it's like what's that show with the British chef guy, Kitchen Nightmare or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, it'd be that, but just me going visit fried chicken places.
Dude.
And
I mean,
being like-
honestly, with the Louisiana palate, you could probably, that show would probably make it.
Dude, I could do it.
Yeah.
I really could.
You could do it.
Yeah. What about you, babe?
My relic would be when I was a child, my first haircut ever, which was when I was pretty old because I had ringlet curls and my mom was sad to cut them. But when she did, she kept a ringlet of my hair and it's in a plastic bag that says like Jasmine's first curl and the date of my haircut. And that would be my relic. And not just like the curl in a beautiful case, but like in this cheap
Authentic.
plastic bag, just ziplocked closed, and that just going around.
Authentic.
My mom's handwriting on the front.
It wouldn't last like that though, because the thing is that the church would put it in the glass and then be like, "Oh, this plastic bag is a second class relic. We got it." And that's what they would do.
That would be so offensive. I'm going to say now on record. And it's here. So church, I am a saint, hopefully, prayerfully, don't separate it. I'm saying it now. And like, if you do, like, that's on you. But like,
They're gonna
me
be like,
as a
"We didn't
hopeful
hear that."
future saint is saying, don't. It goes better together. It's a perfect package. It's beautiful.
There it is.
Everybody listening to this who is younger, make sure.
Gosh,
Let
one
it
day.
live on.
Didn't they do that to Saint Teresa of Calcutta though? Didn't she like have those diaries and she was like, definitely don't publish them?
Yeah.
And then they were like, we're totally publishing.
Like the only thing we know to be true is that it's already published. We hit send.
She didn't actually mean it. She was tired.
She was losing it.
She was tired. Whatever.
She was tired.
Yeah.
Oh, Chanel, do you want to play a game?
I would love to play a game. And I would love to play the game that we play every single episode
It's
almost.
the classic.
Because it's the only game that we like. And that
We're pretty choosy
is
about games,
enough.
TBH.
If we could play Uno, we would. But not fun for those that are listening. So here we are. So, Jasmine, if you could kick me off.
If you know the words to this song, sing along, sing along.
Whoa, I got nervous. I'm next to Steven. I
The
like
pressure's
literally
on.
was about to sing and I
Next
just got
to the
nervous.
musician.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Near.
Oh, I know. I know, but he should be the one that guesses.
Near.
New?
Near.
I'm gonna be honest.
Finish the word. Okay.
Near.
I really don't know what you're
Come
saying.
on, you guys. Everyone listening, they're like, this is the
This is
easiest.
disappointing because we already have a reel where we talk about this and we talk about how this artist is very special to you and Chanel. Now sing it, Chanel. That was a big hint.
Near.
Oh, I didn't know what word you were
I
saying.
know. I was
You
trying
have-
not
you
to
have
say
to
it too
You have to
clearly.
finish singing.
Yeah, I mean, near, far, wherever you are, I believe that my heart will go on.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you for blessing
dude.
us.
Man,
That was good.
Something so weird about Steven's friendship. It's like, I don't know when. I think when y'all were living in Wisconsin when you first got married. I don't know how we started watching Celine Dion videos, but I was like, dang, Celine Dion is so good. And Steven was like, she is so good. And then all of a sudden it was like watching videos, listening to her in the car, Steven talking about her pitch changer, her key changes.
Celine Dion
so
is
good.
incredible as a vocalist. I mean, her voice is insane. But yeah, I mean, thanks to my mom. Thanks, Mom. You know, I got a crash course in Celine Dion growing up. And also, did you know that there was like a weird time where Celine Dion was featured on like a little snippet on the Disney Channel as a kid?
What?
Yeah, she was like, I don't even remember what it was for, but there was a thing where she was like talking about how like I think it was her mom or something was the one who taught her how to sing, and she would like play different notes on like the glasses in the I don't remember. Wow. I don't remember, but it was something crazy, and I remember it being a thing. And I don't know, man. Celine Dion, she's got some real quality songs, man.
She does have some quality songs, and one of my, as a nod to her, as a finale to our game of the week, one of my favorite songs to sing with Steven is "I'm Alive" by Celine Dion, because at the end where she's like, when you speak to me, and you're like, when you call my, and you talk about the pitch change, or is it key change or pitch change, or like, when you call my name, and she like brings it back, and she's like, when you was, and it's just so like, I can reach the sky, I feel that I'm alive, and it's like, oh my gosh, like so freaking good.
She's got so many great ones. Like, okay, so there's that one. There's also the dude, That's the Way It Is. Dude, oh my gosh, dude.
That's the way it is. Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
And then her little background vocal. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
When you want it the most.
There's no easy way out. When you're ready to go.
Oh, dude. Oh, my gosh, dude.
Left. Don't give up on your faith. I'm like, dang, girl.
Dude, are you serious? No. No.
Love comes to those who believe it. I could literally cry, dude. It's like, that song is so good.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know that she did a residency over at in Vegas for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've never wanted to go to Vegas before until they were like, dude, we're gonna have Celine every night. I was like, maybe I should go.
Maybe I should go, dude.
She's not there anymore, obviously. But
Yeah. Wow.
She's just got some incredible songs. And like she gave Josh Groban a career, which is like incredible. So like if you like Josh Groban, you should also
Thank you, Celine.
thank Celine, you know?
Wow.
Did the most.
She did the most.
It's true.
Love
Thank you, Celine.
God bless. All right. Y'all ready?
Yep. Let's dance it
Let's
up.
do a little dancing.
We remembered.
Woo! All right, The Bachelorette. We made it through this season with Charity. And it was a whirlwind, but we love Charity. Huge fan. She's classy. Steven has loved Charity since last season. When he saw her on The Bachelor, he was like, this lady is classy. She is classy. She's so put together. When they announced she was going to be The Bachelorette, we're so excited, knew it was going to be great. And it was, for the most part. So, Steven, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from the resident male of the podcast today. What your thoughts were on the season, some highlights maybe, and then Chanel can take us through our quotes, because I would love to hear what we were saying during this finale.
I think, you know, as someone who has seen samplings of the season, I haven't even watched the whole thing, but just from like what I saw, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the last two gentlemen that she, you know, was debating between were excellent. And so, yeah, I mean, Charity, like, I mean, I don't know. Like you said it, she was a classy person. And so she has like some standards and some morals. She's very self-reflective. She talked about how she journals and stuff. It's like, okay, like she's an introspective,
She got it together.
reflective human being. And then, you know, I don't know. It's like, it's always interesting to see kind of how the things develop, like from like the beginning. Like there's lots of emotions from lots of different kinds of people in the beginning. And like, I don't know. It's interesting to think of like, you know, you're like, if you are signing up to be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette or whatever, and it's like, okay, you've got all these TV producers who are going to pick your dating pool for like 25 people or whatever it is. And so, and it's like, what are they looking for? It's like, they're looking for entertaining people to watch, people who are probably going to be kind of emotional. They're probably going to see a few genuine picks in there, because you got to have some quality people for like America to fall in love with, kind of thing. But they're also probably putting some like trolly people in there on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, this guy looks kind of sketchy. Bet you he could insert some chaos, and like literally like having a bunch of just gentlemen around, and then it's like, let's put the Joker in there. Like it's just sort of a. So I don't know. Like I think it's interesting from like an emotional social experiment kind of thing, but also it's like the morality of the show is kind of messed up on the outset. So it's like conceptually it's different, because it's like, okay, you're trying to figure out who you're going to marry, which is, a exclusive long-term commitment kind of relationship. And it's like your path to finding that is going to be what? A non-exclusive, like a whole bunch of like just a big chaos of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
what can we say? Women are complex.
Well, I mean, but they do it to the guys too.
Men
you know
are
what I mean?
complex.
Like,
we don't know what we want. You guys
like,
haven't been single for a long time. You don't.
It's like speed dating, but far more emotionally damaging. Well, you know what I mean? Like it's like speed dating in the sense of like, here's just a whole bunch of people and you're gonna date all of them.
Yeah.
Except it's not fast and there's a lot more emotional trauma involved. You know what I mean?
A lot more kissing than speed dating.
That is true.
Which is how a lot more emotional trauma gets involved,
There
right?
it
Because
is.
it's like,
Ooh, yeah.
because it's like you're. Anyway, that's probably we could talk about that later. But yeah, I think that conceptually the show is interesting. As like when you look at it from sort of like a social experiment, when you think of like the practicality of using as a means to try to figure out who you're going to marry, it's probably not the best method, but
Here we are.
but it's fun to watch.
Here we are. Like 12 years later.
But yeah, I think highlights. I think who she ultimately ends up with, Dotun. I think he's just a winner. I think he was a winner from the beginning. I've talked about it with y'all before. I don't know. Like any dude who can just be the kind of like sacrificial type example that he kind of sets from the beginning. It's just like that guy. You want to be that guy.
There it is.
Like as a man. Like me, it's like that phrase, game recognizes game, like it's like one of those things, like as a man, it's like I see Dotun and I'm like, that guy, that's the kind of guy who I hope people see me like this guy, and like the first date, he jumped off a bridge. Man's terrified of heights, and Charity's like, hey, we're going to go jump off this bridge. And he was like, bet, let's jump off the bridge. And like, and then like, but he like was very, very scared of heights, so he literally had to kind of like conquer a fear and get through it. And then afterwards was like, you want to do it again? Or are we, like, that's awesome. And then I think it was like the very next date, he freaking put on a tutu and freaking ran a 5K down Bourbon Street in New Orleans. It's like, like he wasn't embarrassed. He was just ready to go. He just was like, she was like, hey, guess what? We're going to go on a marathon. We're going to go run, go do this 5K. First of all, like, I got mad respect for anybody who like, they're like, hey, we're going to go on a 5K and that's going to be our date. And like, doesn't immediately be like, I've seen people like go to Maui or whatever on this show for their dates. And it's like, we're going to run a 5K, I don't know, man. I feel like I got gypped, but anyway, I think, I don't know. It's just, he's just a, I don't know. He's just a dude. He's like just a real man and amongst an ocean of not real men,
There it is.
Like, yeah, they're just like whiny. It's been the worst week of my life because I saw some other dudes. It's like, shut up. Like just like
I know that was a slight.
It's always so hard to see all these guys having a good time with their party hats on while they hang out with you, and I've just gotta sit here in the corner and wallow in self-pity and listen to Dashboard Confessional and what it's just like, it's like, come on, man, like just get a grip. It's like you're not building a case for yourself this way. You're just whining. And so I don't know. And I mean, I didn't see the whole season, but from what I've seen, I never saw Dotun complain one time.
Nope.
He was just a dude, you know? Like, and he also didn't even gloat about how awesome he was, which is also a pretty manly, cool thing to do. Like, I've probably talked more about how awesome Dotun is than Dotun probably ever has in his whole life, you know? Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I just think Slam Dunk Guy, the runner-up, I almost said runner back again, and I was like, that is not... That's the runner-up, the second place guy. Joey is, you know, he seemed like a quality guy too. I think it was one of those things where at the end of the day, she probably couldn't have messed up really. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like it was a choice between two good options, and that makes you feel good. And I'm sure it probably made her parents feel good too. You know, it was just sort of like, you know. I even think the parents kind of alluded to that at one point whenever they were talking. They were sort of like, hey, you know, at the end of the day, like, you need to make the choice because at the end of the day, like, it's good. You know, like, it's fine. So I think that's cool. Yeah, it was the way Joey stared at people, man. It was the looking at people. He was really intense.
I mean, yeah, and I think like if we're gonna talk about Joey's amazing eye contact with his very lubricated eyeballs and like sparkly, beautiful eyes, can you tell? I like think he's so beautiful. Let's start with just talking about them meeting the family. So let's start with Joey meeting the family. What were our thoughts on that? My thoughts were just off the jump. Her parents like really liked him, obviously, because he's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But also he is stupid intentional with how he talks, able to connect with the dad about football, able to connect with the mom just about everything. It was just like really awesome to watch. And I totally get why people are buying into that guy.
Yeah.
No red flags.
I think that meeting parents has like so much pressure around it and can be really hard. And whenever your partner like does what Joey did, where they just like rise to the occasion, like make such intense eye contact with the person and are so intentional about like getting to know them and reassuring them about the process. Like you have to just as a family member be like, okay. And it almost is like, you know, in the Jungle Book, that snake, like it's like the swirly, eyes, and everybody's like, like it really, the way Joey would look at them and be like, I totally understand. And the mom went from being like, to being like,
yeah, because at the end, wasn't she like, thank you for being who you are?
Hug you?
And
thank you so much for being you.
Yeah.
And like was hugging him when she went in skeptical. Like he had a way of making people feel like so at ease, you know?
You know, he did something that was interesting was in all of his conversations, well, I mean, you saw like 2 seconds of his conversation with her dad, but in both conversations with the mom and the sister, he did a good job of like trying to assure them that he understood the position that they were in. Right? He was like, I know you must be thinking this because this and this, and like, you know, it must be so hard. And then would also then follow up with a question like, you know, what do you think about this? And I think when you look at, you know, granted, I mean, we didn't see nearly the amount of conversation in Dotun's meet with the parents that we saw with Joey's. We saw a lot of Joey's conversations. We saw a fraction of the conversations with Dotun, but
drop the deleted scenes. Show us more.
But I think, well, at least from what we saw, it looked like Dotun was on like kind of his back foot. He knew that he was kind of being interrogated, and so everything that he said was just about him and making sure that they knew that he felt this way about Charity, and that's like whereas Joey seemed like he was proactive. He wasn't like, he wasn't playing defense. You know what I mean? He was
genuinely interested.
He was like,
that's a good point.
He was like more, and so I think that's probably why it was more attractive for him to be there. I think he was just a little bit more comfortable and confident, and he asked good questions and just allowed himself to just be himself rather than be nervous. You could see Dotun was really nervous.
I do think that's like a good general kind of advice point for people who are like meeting parents for the first time. Like to what you're saying, like not feeling like it's just about you and like you're going and you're someone for them to meet, but that they are someone for you to meet as well. And like you going in with like the curiosity about them and like asking questions. And I think that's something actually that when we started dating, I really appreciated. And one of the first times that I was like, oh, this is like gonna work. Like he's gonna fit in. Because I have a huge family and are very loud and very chaotic. And I was pretty worried about Steven meeting my family just because I was like, you're not going to remember everybody. I like made him memorize everybody's like pictures. It was very intense.
And Jasmine's family they all love very, very intensely. And they all have a lot of opinions. But it's like, so it's hard to get an edge. It's hard to like get the sneak.
Yeah, they're like the most welcoming people, but it's like, it's so many.
Yeah,
and
it's so many.
You
They
gotta
gotta
you gotta
develop
find your
structure.
niche. Yeah. But Steven came to, I think it was either Memorial Day or Labor Day. We had like a big Memorial Day. We had a big lake party at my parents' house. And everybody's like there, everybody's hanging out. And at one point, I was like hanging out with one of my cousins, and somebody was like, where's Steven? And I was like, I actually have no idea. Which I was so worried that he was going to be like glued to my hip the whole time. And I would be like introducing him to everybody, and it would just be kind of like uncomfortable. And I finally found him in the lake, my parents' house, with one of my uncles, just like talking. Like they were way out, like swimming, talking, and they were in there for like an hour. And then it was like a different uncle, a different person, and he was just doing his thing. And I felt like such a sense of relief that he just fit enough that he would just kind of go off and be like doing his own thing, and I could still be like my own person with my family and not like, oh, now I have to like entertain Steven in the midst of like being with my family, which was really special.
That's a word. I want to ask y'all. Well, for those listening, I ask Jasmine and Steven all the time about their opinions as individuals on like child raising, being in relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So not new for them, but new for you all. Well, let's just, seize this opportunity that we have like a happily married couple here. So Steven, when you met Jasmine's family, what like, because I wonder, as we were watching the show, right, and you were watching it, and you were like, Dalton's really nervous. Like because when I watched it, it looked like, oh, he's sharing, like, that's really nice. He's like saying a lot, like, that's really nice. And you were like, no, he's really like, he's nervous. Like,
stop.
He's saying a lot. Like, he's kind of needs to chill.
Yeah.
Like, when you met Jasmine's family, or when you were thinking about it, kind of what in your process was like, I'm not like that. Like I wasn't like telling them my blood type. I was just kind of like, I was like engaging with them and like also curious about them. Like how do you get there?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know. Like I'm in general pretty extroverted, and I love meeting people, and I love asking questions and just talking. I don't know. So like that stuff never freaks me out, and I don't really get super nervous to meet people. I think the only times that I've ever really gotten nervous have been times in my life where I really felt like I truly needed to prove myself to these people. And one of the nice things was whenever I first met Jasmine's parents, it wasn't in the context of me trying to date you. Yeah, it was like before we were dating, and so it was just like, I was playing music for a retreat for a church, and like, so it wasn't like
stayed over at my parents'.
Yeah, they housed me for a night or whatever before the retreat started, and so it was like they were being good hosts and stuff, and like, so I just was just trying to be grateful and thankful for their hospitality and all that good stuff. But I think that was kind of a big part of why, because you can imagine being in one of these bachelor people's shoes where it's like, I've been spending a lot of time with your daughter, and we like hanging out, and I don't even know who you are yet, Whereas like our situation was sort of like, it was like I was doing a thing at their church, and we weren't dating or anything, so it was just sort of like we hadn't spent that much time together really in the context of things. Like it was just, we talked on the phone obviously, but it wasn't, it's not, you know what I mean? Like we hadn't been engaging in life the way that the people on this show have at the point where they start meeting the parents.
You mean that you guys are telling me that you guys didn't go to Bali before you met her parents?
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah.
Super lame.
So pretty much what Stephen was saying is I wasn't flying Jasmine out on helicopters before I met her parents. So that's kind of
Yeah,
lame.
it's like, well, we met on just a more casual circumstance, so it wasn't like I was trying to prove myself to anybody. I was just meeting
were
them.
just
And so
being you.
then once we started dating and I got to go see him, it was like, great.
Hey,
like,
we're already buds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the advantages of like having like meeting people in like what you would call like low emotional risk circumstances. And I think this is something maybe we could talk about if you wanted to talk about like dating and relationships in general, is like kind of there's levels to that. And so, the longer you can meet people in the context of like low emotional risk circumstances, it's like that's
better.
the better, because you can form those.
Actual chill relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a word. And that is why I love talking to you both. You know what I want to do? I want to share some of y'all's quotes.
Please do.
Well, not exactly
these
quotes because
quotes
I
out
was
of
frantically
context.
typing as we were also watching
Yeah,
it,
you were
and I was
stressed.
also trying to comment back. But I was also kind of like overwhelmed by some of the emotional aspects of the show, so I turned my back to it. Yeah, it was pretty intense. So a part where I was kind of typing a lot, but I didn't get exact language.
It's okay.
When Dotun left after Charity introduced him to her parents, there was a big exchange with Charity and her mom, where Charity asked her mom to share her opinion and to be, I forget what she said, but to be clear, like,
Like, tell me what to do.
yeah. And Charity's mom said that, so before that, Dotun had met Charity's mom. Charity's mom had been like, yeah, you seem kind of familiar, like, to the camera. She was like, he seems familiar. I don't know. It's not a bad thing, but like, I'm not leaping
Kind of
over.
seemed like he was like repeating old
Like I'm not
patterns for
leaping
Charity.
over in regards to like I was leaping over myself for Joey, but like Dotun, not so much. And so Charity was like, I really want you to tell me what you think. Her mom was like, okay. I kind of thought Joey, like I was a little bit more excited, but Dotun's cool too. And then it kind of got weird for a minute. And she's like, no, Mom, I need you to tell me what you really think. And she's like, no, I
did.
told you. So then Jasmine and Stephen just started talking, and they were like, and Jasmine said, Charity doesn't want to say that she likes Dotun more because she does. So she wants everyone else to say it to validate her own feelings so she doesn't have to make a choice. And that was interesting to me because I just think, I mean, I am somebody that will ask for y'all's opinions all the time. And Jasmine is the queen of not giving her opinion
superpower.
if she thinks that you already know what you're supposed to be doing. And so like I'm just curious about what y'all's thoughts are, especially as parents. Like if Noelle or Joy were to be like, no, Mom and Dad like want you to tell me for real what you think, and you felt like they were leaning on, they already kind of had an answer or a thought, and you were like, no, I'm not, I need you to make that choice. Like I need you to make that choice. And then Stephen, you also made another interesting point just about sharing on TV. And so I would just love for you guys to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I think my initial thing, which I know we've talked about on antidepressant before, is just like certain people don't actually listen when you tell them what you think they should do. Like to your point of asking, like if our girls, when they got older, asked me, when Noelle asks me what color the sky is and I tell her blue, she tells me it's green.
That is
so
true.
like
I've
if
been there for that.
she
Yeah.
asked me who I thought she should marry, if I said somebody, it would be like the other person and her already are married and they are flying on their honeymoon and that's the end of it. And so I think that like to a certain point, I think the mom's in a tough spot because she maybe, we don't know that Charity actually is a little rebellious, and like if she pushes hard for Joey, then she's going to go the other way and choose Dotun, and maybe vice versa, you know? And I think the mom did try to be clear and was like, hey, I like saw a spark in you when you saw Joey. And then the sister said the same thing. Like there was just a certain thing about you and Joey. And she was like, oh, well, I don't know why you would say that. That makes my decision so tough. And it only makes your decision tough
Because-
if you wanted to choose Dotton
Okay.
and now they're telling you to choose Joey. Because if you were truly on the fence and they said, we saw these things in Joey, it makes your decision less tough. It makes it easier because now you have their opinion about someone that you love and you can move forward in that way. But I think that is the danger of when you're that close and committed to someone, to open it up to like getting everybody's thoughts.
This is the same thing you said a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago, where you said you don't
Because they
share
could say no.
things that happen with Steven, even with me, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me some drama that have happened with Steven, that have happened with, whatever, because you guys like can figure it out in the minute that I've already made up my mind that I'm upset and I'm on your side.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
you guys have already talked about it, and he's been like, yeah, there's actually some deep stuff, and I gotta,
Exactly, yeah.
whatever. You guys have communicated.
Yes,
it.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of,
That makes sense.
I feel like leads into what the mom was saying about not wanting to like talk about them, which you had some good points about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Charity's mom, I think she was playing, 4D chess with the game. Like
Being a mom is tough, dude.
She was
Being a parent.
killing it. I mean, I think there was just a lot of wisdom in her refusal to give Charity what she wanted, even though I know that her just repeating herself and telling her would have been the easy thing. I think she was on like expert level parenting with just like, when you think about the context of the whole thing, like I think, she did everything she could to empower her, that she knew what the right decision was deep down, and her refusal to name names, I think, was super important because, it's like when you think about the consequences of that, it's like, okay, you are being recorded for television, for the world, and Charity's asking you for an opinion on something that it's like, okay, but if you end up going with the person that I don't share that opinion for, it's like, then now I've got this documentation that I told you to, choose person X, and then you choose person Y, and then what does that do for like our ability to come together as a family moving forward, right? It's like now your spouse has to deal with this reality that, it's like my mother-in-law didn't really want me and her daughter to be together or whatever. It's like that is a whole thing that you just like don't want to open up that can of worms. And she was very particular. She was like, I'm not naming names. She said, I will not say names and tell you.
And you said that's wise. You were like, that's wise.
No, it's so wise. It's so wise. And then also, and in the midst of that, still being able to, it's like what every parent hopes to be able to do is like, you raise your kids in hopes that you can empower them to just like make the choices that they need to make, and that you're not babysitting them through it, and I think she did a great job. It was just sort of like, hey, like, deep down what to do. And whenever Charity was like, oh, I don't, well, that's just what it is. I just don't, and it was really funny because normally she's very well put together. And this was kind of like a, more, I would say like, more teenager-ish, perspective on that. And and it's like when I think it's okay to be merciful towards, her predicament, right? I mean, she's been doing this for how long? Probably months, being recorded all the time. And it's like, she's at this like tipping point where it's like this one last decision that she has to make. And it's like, I think, we've talked about just, a decision exhaustion, where it's just like, oh, I've just made all these decisions. And like, you get to the point where it's like, it's this one last decision. Like, just friggin' tell me, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I think she was at that point. And I think it was just a level 20 out of 10 rock star parenting for that mom to be just like, no, I think it was great.
Out of 10.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think like looking at it with broader dating, people are a lot of times, especially because people are dating so much older, they're like, oh, we're going to wait till we're really serious to meet the parents. But there is a level to like everybody regresses when they're with their family.
Yikes.
And they all of a sudden act like they're like teenage self or their whatever self, and your mannerisms and your behavior, it just becomes so different around the family. So if you're dating somebody and you have not met their family because you want to wait until you're like, no, you're going to marry that person, you might want to make sure you want to marry that person because
But
they're going to be different.
That's a
around
good
their
point.
family.
So Jasmine, fill me in on, Stephen was mentioning earlier about a low emotional threshold. For us single baddies, I think threshold, or I think
Yeah.
Low emotional risk.
risk.
Low emotional risk.
Us single baddies out here, we're trying, right? And so like if I'm dating someone, I'm like, I want to like meet I would like to know their family, right? Because I don't want to date you for 7 months and then be like, dang, your parents are kind of strange. You know, that would that would suck. And so it's like, how do you encounter that like low emotional risk where I'm like, well, because so many, there's a culture now in dating where it's like, no, there used to be a culture, actually it's evolving, where people would be like, no, I'm not going to meet your parents till I'm serious, like not till we're engaged. Like in old school movies, they'd be like, Mom, Dad, I'm getting married and this is my fiance. So scary. But now people are just kind of like, yeah, you want to have dinner with my parents? We've been dating for like 3 weeks because let's just like, let's cut out the middleman.
The move. I think like meeting parents sooner than later. Obviously, it's like for the sake of your parents, because they have feelings too. You don't want to be constantly like
rotating.
Now you can meet this new person. Now you can meet that new person. Now you can meet that new person. Like to a certain degree, like you want to go on a couple dates and make sure you like are actually emotionally invested in the person. And I think part of that just depends on the phase of life you're in. Like some people date to date and some people date for marriage. And so if you're in the date to date phase, then like, no, you don't need to bring every date you're dating home to your parents. Or if like that's the type of person you are, you don't have to like put your parents through that because they're not probably going to get it, But if you are like intentionally dating for marriage, then after a couple dates, if you like know you still want to date this person, you want to give them like your emotional energy, you probably want to know like what their vibe is with their family so you can decide if that's actually something you want to move forward with, because it is like, I do think it's significant and changes the game up. And I didn't meet your parents until we were dating for like 5 months, probably. Yeah, because of long
makes sense.
distance. But luckily, like through conversations with you, because we're long distance, we talked all the time. Like I had a very good idea of your family's values and all of that. And still, I mean, we dated for 2 years before we were engaged. So in the scope of our relationship, it's still like plenty of time for me to be like, okay, what's like the vibe here, and get to like genuinely meet them and spend time with them. And so I do think like the earlier you can meet and get to know people is just
That's a vibe.
important,
Wow.
It's a mood.
Word.
Yeah, I think going off of a lot of what you just said, I think there's something important about being aware of the like low emotional risk opportunities to get to meet people in general, right? And so like, yeah,
it's scary out here though.
Well, like, but you probably don't want to, after like, a single coffee date with someone being like, I'm ready to meet your parents, like, but like if you, depending upon circumstances or whatever, but if it's one of those things where like, like you met this person from church and like the church fall festival's coming up, like that's an open public thing where like you could casually meet parents just to shake hands and just kind of just, hey, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah. And I think you could do that after a first coffee date, no problem, because it's not like a sitting down for dinner. It's just like a formalized, but it's just like, oh, like, hey, are you going to be at this place? Cool. I'm going to be at this place. Oh, your parents are going to be at that place. Great. I'd love to just meet them, and I think that's like being aware of opportunities to do that. I think is really important because then, you can kind of, in a public space like that, you can get a feel for the family. Because I think you need to be able to find ways to kind of register family interactions and stuff, and
check the vibes.
Just see if you get along. And I think that there's low risk opportunities to do that.
Low risk,
like low emotional risk. Because like the thing is that the more emotionally invested you get, the more traumatizing it is once you split up, right? Or if the relationship ends, right? And so it's like coffee dates, like, hey, let's go grab a coffee and just talk. Like that's a very low emotional risk thing. Or just talking to somebody like at that there's like a party, there's like a football game going on or whatever. And it's just like, you're just talking to someone casually in a public open space. It's like not so intimate and not so serious that like, if you stop talking to that person or you decide that, this isn't really what I thought or whatever, it's like, there's not this intense thing. Cause you want to be able to figure out, because like, if you could only figure out whether or not you truly wanted to like marry somebody just exclusive dating people, it's like, dude, you would like never be able to figure that out, because you would just be like, it would be such an intense process. You know what I mean? It'd be like, we're hot and then we're cold and then just like going from back and forth. And so it's like, you've really got to be able to navigate those opportunities to like, being around to, low emotional risk, open public spaces to do stuff. And so that's why, if you're single and you're, looking for love or whatever, like finding those opportunities, going to those like, fall festivals that churches love to put on, whatever kind of like open public thing that you can kind of go to meet people.
Look at all the young adult events.
Well, yeah, young adult events for sure.
Grin through it. We know sometimes it's a grind, but you can do it and it's all right. And young adult events have a rep of not being awesome, and sometimes they aren't. But, it's all about the effort and it's all about the grind, pushing through, So this was, you guys are dope. And I love this. So let's I know that we have so much commentary and so many thoughts. I want to bring up something else. We talked about Dotun and how he told Charity that she is his treasure. We freaked out. It was so cute. And Stephen has shared that Jasmine is his treasure. So cute. And so I just thought that was so beautiful. And I'm here for men that are, Stephen said a lot while we were watching about how these men are emotionally available, and just like
we love that in a man.
Yeah, just the idea of not even the idea, like practice of creating space for someone who you create space for them, but like, are they creating space for you? And like, what is emotional? I mean, and this could be a whole episode, but unfortunately, we don't have. I mean, this is our show. But
it might be a whole episode.
I know, for this episode, maybe the next one. But what is, both of you, what are your thoughts on emotional availability in dating? Like, what factor does that play? Especially if, hey, if I'm just like going on some dates with you, I'm just checking the vibe. Maybe I'm going on some dates with a bunch of peeps. Like, do I have to be, like, what does that look like? What does emotional availability look like?
My take is that I was always pro. This comes from my father. Thanks, Bob. Always was like, without saying it, would be like, you should play the field a little. Like get to know what you like. Like go on dates, meet different guys, see what you actually like before you get married. Like don't just settle for the first guy that says you're cute. It's not that deep. Like you have options. You can like date around and see what it's like, and so I was always kind of like scoping it out, and I ended up, we started dating when I was 19. So I didn't have like a ton of time for that necessarily. But I was very like, I'm friends with this guy, don't like this, and this.
Yes,
wouldn't be able to, like, kind of scoped out the characteristics in my friendships that I was and wasn't looking for in a future spouse, and was willing to kind of be emotionally vulnerable in that way to be able to kind of like check the water. And I think that's something important is like, you can go on like coffee dates or you can hang out as a friend group, like hanging out as a friend group. Like I hang out with you and some of our single guy friends and like, we know from those conversations who you want to marry and who you don't. Like, you don't even have to be an official date. Like you can just hang out in a group of people and kind of catch a vibe. And so I think you can be emotionally open. And the important thing is like, you're going to have to be vulnerable as soon as you want to actually know more about somebody, because for you to know enough to know if you want to pursue a relationship or not, you're probably going to need them to be emotionally vulnerable. So you're probably going to have to do that in return. And that's just kind of like the name of the game. And it's a bummer, right? But that's how you know if you're going to be able to like move forward with that person at all. If that makes sense. I feel like. What are your thoughts?
Hard task.
Yeah. So I think in relationship to that, I think this like directly plays into the thing that we were just talking about with like emotional risk, right? And like emotional risky environments and things, right? Like it's the more emotionally invested you get into a relationship, if the relationship doesn't work out, the more traumatizing the processing of that is.
So what you're saying is relationships are just full of trauma and it's not worth the risk.
He's not saying that.
No.
He's literally not saying that.
Rewind the tape.
What I'm trying to say is like you've got to be smart about like what you're doing. And like St. John Paul II talks about this when he talks about emotional chastity, right? Like there's an idea that like, you know, you can, just as like you can give like too much of your body too soon in a relationship, you can give too much of your like emotional well-being too soon, right? And so I think that there's a reality to where like to what Bob's saying. I totally agree with what Bob says about like you do need to date around, but not in a emotionally unchaste way, right? And so like emotional vulnerability is important, but that vulnerability only comes once you're ready to, I think, be exclusive with this person and then invest.
Whoa,
right?
this is actually crazy. I know I agree, and this is crazy because it's like the first time I'm hearing this. Just like in my heart, I'm like,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, you want to be able to kind of like see what kind of people you want to have fun with, right?
Yeah.
And like what I think that process can be kind of a lot, you know, and like you don't, you know, we would all love for us to just like be in adoration and the person that you know God wants us to be with or whatever, to like walk down the aisle of the chapel and like heaven's gates open up and there's a beam of light and just says be with this person, you know,
Please,
or whatever.
God.
I like that's not going to be a thing. And so what you've got to do is it turns out that our relationships are much more human than that, right? Like it's like
Tough.
And so it's like you've got to find out enough about people to see if you actually want to invest, right? And so it's like you've got to be able to kind of like go on dates. Yeah, dates. Go on dates. Like actual dates with different people. But like also it doesn't need to be so serious the whole time. You don't need to like go out on dates with multiple people and at every date be like, so what's your deepest, darkest secrets, your life goals, and how many, you know, like it doesn't need to be like that. You can just go and like hang out. What sorts of stuff do you like to do and have a good time? And then from there, based off of your experience, then narrow it down and be sort of like, oh, I would like to, because that's, and circling back to our original that's the problem with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette shows, right? Is that you're going on all of these dates with all of these people and it's not emotionally chaste, and it's not, I mean, it's also not physically chaste sometimes too, but it's not, but it's like you're going out on all of these dates and these really intense, sensational dates with lots of people, and you have every single season, every single time, whoever the main person is, they're like, I can't believe I'm falling in love with multiple people. It's like, how could you not? You know, like it's like, this is a recipe for disaster. Like, yeah, of course you're falling in love with multiple people at the same time. Look what you're doing. You're emotionally investing in a way that should be with one person with multiple people, right? And so you're doing this very intense emotional vulnerability with multiple people, and they're reciprocating because they think that you're being emotionally vulnerable with them, which you are. But then it's like, yeah, yes, you're doing something that's meant to be with one person. and you're doing it with multiple people, and then that's why you end up at the end of the season with these people just emotionally distraught and totally confused and at their breaking point and asking their parents just to tell them what to do because they don't know what to do because they've just, I mean, I mean, and like, this is going to sound like a harsh way of putting it, but it's like emotional sleeping around, you know, it's like, you're literally. So does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And I think like that's a word. I think there have been so many words in this episode that like
many words.
I'm interested to see like what the feedback from our audience is because I think like we've talked about, I mean, what the heck? We have played a game. We have talked about our initial thoughts.
Go through our list.
We've talked about dating. We've talked about their story. We've talked about how the heck can us single baddies find a man that is emotionally checked in? You know, how can we be emotionally checked in a way that's not just going to kill us? Because sometimes I just can't listen to the same, like, I don't care what your favorite color is. So how can I emotionally check in a way that's also fair to me? So it's like, you know, we're just learning so much. And I thank you for being our guest. And Jasmine for marrying him and bringing him along.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Marrying me.
Anytime, baby. You're welcome.
You are her treasure. So
I am the treasure, which is great because you're really into pirates right now. So
there it is.
being a pirate's treasure is like next level.
There it is. Wow. Well, Jasmine, do you have anything you want to say to round us out?
I don't think so. I think I do. My encouraging thing of the day is like, if you're a single person, when I was in college, I don't even know who put this on, like the theology department. I don't even know, campus ministry. Somebody put on this event that was about dating where people were talking about like healthy relationships. And at the end, they gave out gift cards to Luna Coffee, which is like a coffee shop close by, like $5 gift cards to everybody who came. Maybe it was a couple of $5, like 3 $5 gift. I know it was something specific like that. And the challenge was to like go out on 3 dates, like to go on 3 dates. Cause they were like, it's not that serious. Like we're in college. It was like a hookup culture thing, you know, and like push back on that. It was like, just take 3 people to coffee. Just go to coffee 3 times. And like, it's not that deep. Just get to know somebody, chill, laugh. It doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be a big planned out thing. And just like see if you're interested. And if you're not, cool.
Whatever.
You can both go home and move on with your life and nobody paid for anyone's meal and there's no awkwardness. Like we can all just move on. And so that is like my challenge, I guess. I feel like that's just important. It's important. Just like go out to coffee. Just ask like one person to coffee and see what the vibe is. And maybe it's a no, but at least you got practice going on a date. Because it's also like a little cringe and awkward sometimes to just be in that situation, to what you're saying, having to like sit and do the weird whatever. And even if that person isn't it, at least you got practice for the person who is. You know?
It is.
You're nice and fresh.
Practice makes perfect. Hoop dreams, you know? And like, it's all good. We are out here in these streets just taking people out to meals. For all my ladies out there, you know, we don't have to believe in gender norms. But in this case, I want my meal paid for.
Get some free
So
meal.
it's like, in that case, I'm
She wants Chili's.
I put on my expensive perfume dupe and I'm getting my meal paid for.
She
So
wants those chicken crispers. You better
yeah,
not
so
mess
it's
around.
like, you better get me some honey chipotle chicken crispers. So it's like, and a full molten chocolate lava cake, not a mini,
oh yeah,
you know? So yeah. So I just think like, I hope that we all learned a lot. Steven, you have anything to round us out?
You know, 2 things.
Yeah. Words.
Any ladies listening, you are worthy of being pursued.
You are the treasure.
And so allow yourself to be pursued. So, and allow men to rise up. So, and I think that's also part of, you know, I was talking about in the beginning, I was talking like, dude, Don's just like a man. You know, I think there's like a level to which like, yeah, fellas, if we happen to have any fellas who listen to this, part of being a man is like taking the emotional risk so that way the ladies don't have to, and like bearing that burden of like being the initiator and like in the wake of being potentially rejected. It's like, yeah, be a man and go ask. And if you get rejected, you know,
all right,
dust your shoulders off and try again, you know, like, because I think that's part of like it's part of the thing about being a dude is like, yeah, it's a burden, but you got to be willing to bear it. And so, and like, because of where we stand in relationship to women, it's like, because they are worthy to be pursued. Right. And so it's our duty as men to bear that burden, to go out and pursue, even though it's emotionally costly. So that would be my closing statements.
There it is.
Vibes.
So on that
The world is depressing.
but we are not. We hope that this episode was so hopeful for all of you. So
Yes.
smash that like button, affirm us on social media.
Do
Heck,
it.
affirm us in person. If you have our cell phone numbers, text us. Affirm us there.
Chanel's feeling a little low. That's how you know.
Life is I just sat here with like a wonderful couple for like an hour. So, life is beautiful and not, the world is depressing, but we're not. And we're
She's
just
gonna
happy
keep
to be
saying
here.
it. She's like,
The world
"Please,
is depressing.
I'm not depressed.
So we love y'all. Talk to y'all next week.
Bye.
Love. Bye.